Well, good morning everyone, Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. 16th of March, come up to Allotment on my day off and it's actually nice. It's not raining. I've been up here half an hour, no rain. I've even taken a layer off. And I've done a quick job already, but thought I'd do a walk around with you guys first before I carry on. So let's have a look. Yeah, I'll start with that. So boys from the farm dropped off some manure for us. Going to be using that bit later on after I've done a bit more planting. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. You can see how muddy it still is. Nearly killed me this morning trying to get the wheelbarrow up. Fed the boys already a bit of kale Cavolo Nero, but if we start here, so under here, I may remember last time I sort of set up this very crude element to see if I could force some rhubarb. So I've got a couple of plants there and there's a couple underneath. So let's have a little look. Yeah, well, it's definitely grown. I don't know that it looks as amazing as if I'd done a proper job on it, so to speak, but it's certainly got some good growth. So yeah, I'll probably pick some of that later, so that'd be nice. Blackcurrant, you can see it's just starting to leaf out, but I think I'll probably harvest this little bit of rhubarb and then whip this off just because it looks messy, to be honest. Yeah, the other blackcurrant's looking good. Artichoke, that's the globe artichoke. So this is essentially second year of it growing, and you can see that it's really bulking up. And given the fact that last year I just had it growing in a small pot at home just to kind of establish itself, so this is 5 months I think it's been in the ground, and you know, not been very favourable conditions. These are the leeks that you'll remember from last year were absolutely rubbish. So having had well, nothing good come of them last year when they were in the bed over there, dug them up in the autumn, they've got moved to here over winter and they've really bulked up. You know, look at these, they are buried down, so they got some good stem. I'm going to lift a couple of those for using today actually. I need to do a bit of a check here. So these are the chrysanthemums, which I thought they had died over winter, so I honestly didn't bother moving them, couldn't be bothered to lift them this year. Might be the odd sprout, I don't know, but it has been cold, so I don't know whether they wouldn't have broken dormancy naturally anyway. Don't know, we'll see. Hang tight for another month and see if they start sprouting. So this is kind of a bit of a mixed bed really. So these little tufts here and there's some random porcelain music garlic that I had left over. Didn't want to plant it in my proper garlic bed, so I put it into here just to see what it did. It sort of struggled in the old allotment, but you can see that it's starting to get away actually, and if I can get the bulbs up to a decent size this year, then I'll be able to split those up and use those in sort of production come end of this year, ready for next. So that's something that would be quite nice. Look at the sorry state of these, the red cabbages. You know, they are finally seemingly above a bit of a level where the slugs aren't decimating them, but I don't think they're going to be great. You got 1, 2, the last remaining Taunton Dean perennial kale. The third one succumbed to the ravaging slugs and snails. but they're doing pretty well now, so I'm pleased with those, and I'm hoping that probably by summertime I'll be able to take some cutting off that to give me a couple more plants. So this morning had a little look, because beginning of the month when I did the walk arounds, I noticed that a lot of these had died off, which these are the Calce onions, and they had been occupying all this space, but there's quite a few had died off. So I've discarded one and moved one, and in their place I've planted out these. So these are shallots, a couple more shallots, and they're actually bought from supermarket purposely. So these four here came in a bag. They were classed as giant banana shallot from Sainsbury's, so I bought those. And then these were just a normal, well, classed as banana shallot, and that was from Marks and Spencer's. We had one left over last year, having not used it for cooking, and so my son decided that actually he wanted to plant one, see if he could grow them. So planted one, and as shallots do, they multiply. So this year we've got two. So I'm just interested to see as to whether they will produce a viable crop in the UK environment outside, as opposed to being grown in France. So yeah, that's something. So it's, for the sake of, I think it's about £1.80 for those four from Sainsbury's, it's worth that little gamble, because if you're trying to buy banana shallots, otherwise it costs a lot more than that. So in here are elephant garlic. So they're looking quite good now. They were looking very spindly. Thought that actually it was probably too wet and cold for them, but they've come up quite nicely. Those lot are from cloves. Through here should be some where the corms were planted, but actually there's not a lot sprouting, so I'm wondering whether the corms were that great to start with, because most of them came from the same, from a supplier, with these ones here being corms from the same supplier as the cloves. So it might well be that the supplier of these corms wasn't as good as they were claiming to be. Within this bed, these here are the perennial onions, so the Egyptian walking onions, and you can see they're popping up quite nicely. So these were the main bulbs. The back half should have been from the bulblets, which again, it might well be that the bulblets have just got too wet, but they've not started sprouting. Under here are shallots, which grisella. So they're in there. So that's sort of a larger shallot, a more commercial sized ones than ones I've previously grown. Then this bed, it doesn't look quite so sad as it did last video. My son did come up with me, and we gave it a quick weed, which actually didn't take as long as we thought it would do. But you can now actually see the strawberry plants. Some of the runners want cutting off. Now they've kind of rooted where they need to root, and because of the fact that, well, it seems a hell of a lot of space just for strawberries, and a bit wasteful really. So I'm actually going to plant some kale and things within this bed, just to kind of make the bed a bit more, well, higher yielding than just simply waiting for the strawberries to do their thing. Got potatoes ready, so they're coming in this bed today, and we'll come back to that. This bed here is the onions, so got those doing their thing, and Welsh onions showing their flower bud. Right, boys, little close up for the camera. Oh, good boys. This Jacob ram So they're all rams in here, but this Jacob, he never used to come near anyone. Still a little bit timid, but because he knows that when I'm up here he might get the chance of getting some kale, he's quite happy to come and say hello. So then within here, these are all garlic, and see they're looking nice and strong. Although the sun is out, and get plenty of people asking questions on YouTube, Instagram, and at work about feeding and things. Don't be tempted to put any feed down on them yet. It's too early. If we get that frost, which invariably we will do, then that'll snap the tops out of all of those, or scorch the tops on the fresh growth. So you're much better off wait until you get to mid-April before thinking about a feed. All the other boys have come over, so let's pick a few bits for them. They've had some already, so I spent the first bit of today just feeding them. There we are. So you've got to give the big ones the food first, as they're the bigger staters. That little one there, he's always friendly, but always gets muscled out. See? Feed them in a bit. So, yeah, this bed's the next one that needs to be cleaned up at some point. This is going to be for the dahlias, so that's, well, going to be the work in progress. It was far too wet last time. This bed here, I started doing a bit of weeding on after last video, so a couple of weeks ago. But then realised that this side had totally rotted away, just where it's been so wet, and sunk away. So I did a repair job on that instead, which took a bit of doing because I needed to dig out the soil across here, get that back into place. This bed has just had a quick weed. Again, the other week it had a quick weed, and it's just sitting there ready for when all the courgettes and things start going, well, squash and courgettes, that's going to be the bed for that. And so I'm leaving it like that, and then once I do my planting I can then add the manure in. So that's what's happening normally. And we go up, just talk potatoes quickly whilst we're up here. So got the first earlies there, second earlies. Now when you watch any of these YouTube, Instagram videos, everyone talks about chitting potatoes and how you must do it, and you know, it's almost sort of compulsory to do it. And yeah, it works. It allows for cropping time in earlies. We'll say earlies. If you get your earlies chitted a little bit earlier, then they will get growing a little bit earlier, and that's great if you've got somewhere protected to plant them. So if you're planting in pots, or you've got fleecing or whatever. If you haven't, then all that happens when you plant a chitted potato that's already got going, it will start growing even quicker, emerge up through the soil before really the temperatures are at the right level, and then you've got the potential of them getting frost damage. Now, that said, these have been left to chit, and chit basically means breaking dormancy. So they've just been in the greenhouse, frost free, sitting there doing their thing. They haven't got massive long shoots as you'd see on a lot of posts or photos, and the reason being is that they've been in the greenhouse, they've been high up, had good light levels. So because of that, yeah, there's good access to light. They don't need to be stretching upwards to try and reach that light. So that's why the shoots are nice and compact, which is how they should be. And again, you know, so many people worrying about should they chip potatoes. and I did a post, or did a video on this, I don't know, a couple of years back, my no chitting and no earthing up planting. But in commercial practices, farmers do not do chitting because they can't do it. You know, it's totally impractical for them. So they just keep the potatoes at a relatively cool temperature, about 4 degrees, and then once the normal soil conditions are up to about 6-degree temperature, then they plant out, because that going from 4 to 6 degrees, well, 6 degrees breaks the potato dormancy and off they go. So yeah, if your potatoes are looking like this, that's fine, don't worry. If the potatoes are all stretched like that and you're not ready to plant them, move them to a brighter position, because they're crying out for light, and that's why they're doing that. But anyway, yeah, that's my potatoes. So I'm going to get planting on those today, and setting out purposes, I'll just be planting 3 across. So yeah, what's that, about 40 centimetre spacing, something like that, or 30 centimetre spacing, and that's sufficient for certainly earlies and second earlies. But yeah, that is kind of roundup done for up here, and then once I've finished up here, I'll get home and we'll carry the video on down there. Right, back home, ended up doing nearly 2 hours at the allotment, and then I've come back, got changed, and thought I'd show you what's going on here. So sweet peas looking pretty good, a little mixture of things there. So some kale, more onion kelsey, some red kale, the red Russians. So you can see it's got these lovely stem coloration already appearing. The broad beans, which have gone a little bit crazy, so they're going to go out in between the first and second early potatoes. Got first sowing there of the disco beetroots, so they'll be getting planted soon as well. Kale cuttings at the back there, with a couple of lots of shallots. Had intended to plant those out today, but yeah, it's going to be a job probably for Tuesday, next opportunity. And here I've got a couple of varieties of spinach. Now these were sown into the cells and then just put into here, so they come up without any heat, as they don't need heat for germination. A little bit of elephant garlic starting to show itself, so they're corms as opposed to the cloves, so hopefully there'll be a few more emerge out of that. Some normal kale down there, look at those, they're the lilies, looking really big. So let's just close that, and then we'll go and have a look in the greenhouse. Now I just thought I'd show you that. So it's gooseberry, brought the turmeric out for good old water and feed. It's looking a little bit anemic, having spent the last 6 months indoors. But a bit of colour there for you. Rosemary's in flower, crazy. Anyway, let's get in here. So usual things. I mean, the verbena's gone absolutely crazy, or lemon verbena. Everything's starting to grow pretty quickly in here. Of the bits that ordinarily would be planted outside, cut back the chilies there. The dog's trying to come in. Come on. So within here, this one without the lid on. So these spikes here are from the ginger. So that's the ginger that I've been growing and harvesting for the last 3 or 4 years now. So, you know, we tend to use some and then replant bits out. So these, well, really another month, I guess, or maybe sooner. Might have to split that apart, put them into their individual pots. Reluctantly trying to develop. These are more turmeric, so same as well, same lot of turmeric rhizomes as the ones that we saw outside. A couple of dahlias. This is new addition. So these are actually my Camellia sinensis, or tea plant. Bought it last week. It arrived and there was the 4, I guess they were grown from seed, but there was 4 in a singular pot, so I've divided them up and try and get the 4 plants going. A few dahlia cuttings on the go there. Then again, just with basil heat, got some verbascum there, some Licatora, which is a nice really white stemmed leek. Lettuce mix, so it's DT brown mix, and then some bolt hardy beetroots, so they're all cells, they'll be planted out as such. Within this lot, more dahlias, some orchids, more dahlias, pepper in a can. These are all the dahlia tubers, been taking cuttings off them. Let's have a look down here. So I've done some more leeks, autumn giant, but it's I can't think of the actual variety, but it's again, it's a slightly different variety. It's a white variety, or a pinkish variety. Some normal autumn cabbage there, so the cabbage off in them. Some padron pepper seed that we tried to get from peppers that we've got from supermarket. Don't look like they're doing a lot. Found a packet of tomato gazi seeds. Thought I thought that I'd used them all up, but I obviously hadn't, so trying those and some other dahlia bits. Then we work our way up. You can see these are bending towards the light. So green basil of the British basil, and then rubin, which is the purpley red leafed variety. They're looking nice and strong. Some antirrhinums. These are actually the giant varieties, so they could be pretty impressive. And then all of these, as always, are the chili peppers and sweet peppers amongst here, with a random offering of dahlia. My thought is that within the next week or so I'll be potting some of these up. Then those 3 trays there, they're all the tomato seedlings, which you can see now they're starting to get their first proper leaves. Another little sowing of orac and some tomatillos. Then up here got golden celery, and then tall Utah, which is a plain green celery, and a few more dahlias. I mean, basically these dahlias across the top here, they're ones that I've kind of finished with, so I've had as many cuttings from them as I want, and then well, it's just what to do with them now, whether I pot some up and grow them and just to give away, or whether I bother doing any more cuttings. Undecided, but that's that really. All right, we'll just have a quick wander, let you see a bit of colour. Now look at that, magnolia's looking lovely. So those down there, and those in the container, well, they're the wild garlic, which hopefully you remember that I got those from a seller, so they've not been harvested from the wild, but from a proper grower. So yeah, they're looking really good, and plan is this week to make some wild garlic pesto. And then I've got this, which I don't know what's, well, this is the rhubarb. Sneak peek. It's looking a bit small actually. I mean, last year the whole of that thing was full of rhubarb, so yeah, I reckon some's probably succumbed to the cold wet of winter. Then the only other things, well, you've got the blackberries there, and the apple and pear, and that is the roundup. So that is the end of the mid-monthly roundup. Getting harassed by the dog. Hope you've liked what you've seen. So if you've got any messages, then please send them over to me. Any questions, or indeed, well, say, let me know how things differ from where you are to where I am. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how other people are getting on, and indeed what sort of crops you're growing to what we can grow in the UK, or in Essex in the UK. Yeah, if you do like what I'm doing, then please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that reminder button so you don't miss out on future videos. And always say it, but it's so true, just enjoy yourself, have fun, and make the most of your time. There we are. There's Willow. See you soon. Bye for now.